The rain in Capital City did not merely fall, it sheeted against the towering glass facade of Vance Enterprises, turning the 70-story monolith into a glittering spear of charcoal and light against the ink-black night. To the citizens below, the tower was a symbol of untouchable power, the seat of an empire that controlled everything from real estate to biopharmaceuticals. To Evelyn Miller, it was simply the place where she scrubbed toilets, polished marble, and wiped away the footprints of people who would never look her in the eye. Inside the cramped, windowless basement staff room, Evelyn frantically zipped up her faded canvas backpack. Her fingers were trembling, cold, and stiff from a grueling double shift of cleaning. Beside her, sitting on a low plastic stool that had one leg shorter than the others, was 4-year-old Lily. Lily was wearing a bright yellow raincoat with little frog eyes on the hood. She was quietly coloring a picture of a 3-tailed cat with a lime green crayon, her tiny pink tongue poking out of the corner of her mouth in deep, unbothered concentration. "Lily, sweetie, remember our mouse game?" Evelyn whispered, kneeling on the cold linoleum floor so she was directly eye level with her daughter. She gently brushed a stray lock of dark, silky hair away from Lily's forehead. Lily looked up, her round, expressive eyes blinking. Those eyes were a striking, unnatural shade of silver blue, like frozen rain under a winter sky. Every single time Evelyn looked at them, her heart squeezed with a mixture of profound, overwhelming love and a cold, lingering terror. Quiet like a little mouse, Lily piped up in her soft, high voice, nodding her head so hard the frog eyes on her hood wobbled. "No peeking, no squeaking, and stay in the cozy closet with the towels." "That's my brave, perfect girl," Evelyn said, swallowing the heavy lump of guilt that had been lodged in her throat all evening. Evelyn was an Omega, and like most unregistered Omegas in the modern, hyper-regulated metropolis, life was an endless, exhausting tightrope walk. She had no mating mark, no pack support, and a stack of medical bills from Lily's premature birth that never seemed to shrink. Tonight, her neighbor the elderly beta woman who usually watched Lily for a few dollars had been rushed to the hospital with influenza. With no other options and facing immediate, unappealing termination if she missed her shift, Evelyn had been forced to do the unthinkable: smuggle Lily into the high-security headquarters of Vance Enterprises. If she was caught, it wouldn't just mean losing her meager paycheck. Bringing an unregistered chilled especially one with an emerging scent into a high-class, alpha-owned corporate sanctuary was a serious offense. The authorities would view it as a security breach, or worse, an attempt to compromise the pure environment of the executives. "Just 3 hours, baby," Evelyn murmured, leaning forward to kiss Lily's warm, sweet-smelling cheek. "Mommy has to deep clean the executive offices on the top floors. I set up your little blanket, your coloring book, and some crackers in the supply closet on the 55th floor. Eat warm, it has a little nightlight, and nobody ever goes in there after hours." "Okay, you'll be safe." Lily nodded enthusiastically, clutching her drawing to her chest. "Okay, Mommy. I'll make a pretty picture for the lady." "The lady?" Evelyn blinked, momentarily confused, before shaking her head with a weary sigh. Lily often talked about a pretty lady in her dreams, a protective figure made of shadows and the scent of cold winter wood. Evelyn didn't like to dwell on where those dreams came from. She knew, with absolute, terrifying certainty, who the child's other parent was, even if that person had absolutely no idea Lily existed. 5 years ago. A chaotic, unexpected heat in a secluded mountain cabin during a massive, historic snowstorm. A stranger whose powerful scent of frosted pine and cedar had completely overwhelmed Evelyn's senses, driving her primal Omega instincts into a frenzy of submission and desire. It had been a night of desperate, raw, soul-binding passion that left Evelyn permanently marked in her soul, though her neck remained bare. When she woke the next morning and realized she had spent her heat with Victoria Vance, the ruthless, cold-blooded heiress who was about to inherit the largest conglomerate in the country, Evelyn had panicked. An alpha of Victoria's stature didn't marry penniless, unregistered Omegas. They entered arranged, cold political matches with powerful high society alphas to strengthen their bloodlines. Fearing her child would be taken from her and raised as a heartless corporate pawn, or worse, that she would be discarded as a temporary, shameful distraction, Evelyn had fled into the snowy dawn. She had hidden her scent, changed her name, and vanished into the lower-class sectors of the city. Hidden her scent, changed her name, and vanished into the lower-class sectors of the city. Now, cruel irony had brought her back to the very tower bearing the Vance name, sweeping the floors of the empire owned by the woman she had never stopped dreaming about. "Let's go, quiet mouse," Evelyn whispered, lifting Lily into her arms. The service elevator hummed as it climbed higher and higher, the numbers ticking upward toward the sky. Evelyn clutched Lily close, her sweet, calming scent of jasmine and warm vanilla laced with the bitter, sharp tang of pure anxiety. She hoped her cheap, over-the-counter scent blockers would hold. If any executive alpha caught a whiff of her fear, her fragile life would crumble in an instant. The 55th floor was a vast, silent expanse of polished granite, dark mahogany paneling, and glass-walled offices that overlooked the City Euro-esque glowing grid. It was the floor designated for the senior vice presidents, a buffer zone of power just beneath the CEO's private sky sanctuary on the 70th-floor penthouse. Evelyn quickly ushered Lily into the spacious supply closet. It was clean and smelled of lemon polish and fresh linen. She laid down a soft fleece blanket on a stack of unopened tablecloths, set up a small battery-operated lantern, and handed Lily a juice box and a bag of apple slices. "Stay right here, sweetie. Mommy will be just outside. If you hear footsteps, turn off the light and play the mouse game." "I love you." "Love you, Mommy," Lily whispered, already busy lining up her crayons in a perfect rainbow row. For the next 2 hours, Evelyn worked with a manic, desperate intensity. She scrubbed the polished mahogany desks, dusted the pristine bookshelves, and vacuumed the plush, custom-woven carpets of the vice president's suites. Every muscle in her body ached, her lower back throbbed with fatigue, and her hands were raw from the harsh cleaning chemicals. Yet, she kept her eyes glued to the digital clock on the wall. 11:45 p.m., nearly done. Just the main elevator lobby and the glass-walled conference room left. As she dragged her heavy mop bucket toward the central lobby, the elevator chimes suddenly echoed through the empty hall. Ding! Evelyn froze. The sound was like a physical blow to her chest. Her heart leapt into her throat, beating so wildly she was certain it would burst. Security guards rarely used the executive elevator, and they never came up to this floor at this hour without a radio warning. The heavy, brushed chrome doors of the elevator slid open with a whisper of compressed air. Instantly, the air in the corridor grew incredibly dense, heavy, and freezing cold. Evelyn Euro's body reacted before her brain could comprehend what was happening. Her knees buckled slightly, a violent shiver running down her spine. The scent Euro, powerful, dominant, and intoxicatingly familiar Euro, flooded the hallway. It was the scent of frosted pine, dark chocolate, and the sharp, clean ozone of a winter storm. Victoria. Evelyn scrambled behind a massive marble pillar, clutching her mop to her chest like a shield. She held her breath, her eyes wide with terror, pressing herself as flat as possible against the cold stone. A small entourage stepped out of the elevator. In the center of the group stood Victoria Vance. She was taller than most, her posture impossibly straight, exuding a chilling, magnetic command. She wore a tailored charcoal gray three-piece suit that fit her slender but athletic frame flawlessly. Her long, jet-black hair was pulled back into a sleek, low ponytail, exposing her sharp, aristocratic jawline and high, pale cheekbones. But it was her eyes that held a terrifying, hypnotic power Euro. They were the exact same rare, piercing silver blue as Lily's. "I don't care what the board says, Marcus." Victoria Euro's voice cut through the silent corridor like a scalpel. It was low, smooth, and utterly devoid of warmth. "If the acquisition isn't finalized by tomorrow at 9, I will replace the entire legal team. I do not tolerate incompetence in my inner circle." "Of course, Ms. Vance," a nervous-looking beta executive stammered, frantically adjusting his glasses as he struggled to keep pace with Victoria Euro's long, confident strides. "We are working through the night. It's just, the valuation of their tech assets is highly volatile euro. I don't pay you to make excuses, Marcus. I pay you to deliver results," Victoria interrupted, her gaze sweeping the dark hallway. Suddenly, she stopped walking. Her nose twitched, her nostrils flaring slightly. Evelyn Euro's heart stopped. Asterisk, did she smell me? Did my cheap scent blockers fail under the stress? Asterisk, Evelyn squeezed her eyes shut, praying to whatever deity was listening to let her dissolve into the marble. Suddenly, a small, light sound broke the tense silence of the executive lobby. Asterisk, patter. 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 Asterisk. It was the unmistakable sound of tiny, bare feet running on the highly polished granite floor. Evelyn opened her eyes in pure, unadulterated horror. The door to the supply closet which she had sworn she latched shut was swinging open. And running straight down the long, dimly lit hallway, her yellow frog raincoat flapping behind her like a pair of wings, was Lily. "Lily. No." Evelyn gasped, the words dying in her throat as a silent, paralyzed scream. But Lily wasn't looking at her mother. Her silver blue eyes were locked onto the tall, imposing figure of Victoria Vance. Lily's face was bright, filled with a pure, instinctive joy that defied all logic. To a 4-year-old child, there was no feared Ice Queen CEO. There was only a warm, magnetic pull that her tiny body couldn't resist. Primal, biological homing beacon. "Pretty lady," Lily squealed, her tiny arms outstretched. The executives gasped, scrambling backward as if a wild animal had just entered their pristine corporate sanctuary. Security guards immediately stepped forward, their faces hardening as they reached for their belts. "Identify yourself," one of the Alpha guards barked, stepping forward to intercept the small child. "Don't you dare touch her." Victoria Euro's voice boomed. It wasn't a normal shout. It was a sudden, raw wave of Alpha command, thick and heavy with primal dominance. The sheer force of her voice slammed through the hallway, making the guard freeze in his tracks, his eyes wide with instinctual shock and submission. But Lily didn't care about the guards, the booming voice, or the heavy atmosphere. She ran right past the frozen security team, straight up to Victoria. With a tiny, happy sigh, Lily threw her arms around Victoria Euro's left leg, hugging the expensive, custom-tailored trousers tightly. She buried her face in Victoria's knee, giggling softly. "I found you," Lily whispered, her voice muffled against the fabric. "You smell like the winter forest. Just like my dreams." The corridor fell into a silence so absolute that the dripping of the rain against the glass 70 floors up sounded like thunder. The executives looked terrified. The security guards looked utterly bewildered. And Victoria Vance, the Ice Queen, the woman who had reportedly fired a vice president for merely looking at her too directly, stood completely, utterly paralyzed. Victoria Vance looked down. For the first time in 5 years, the rigid, impenetrable wall around the Alpha's heart cracked. She stared at the tiny child clinging to her leg. Lily looked up, her silver blue eyes sparkling with innocent warmth. She let go of Victoria's leg for a brief moment, only to reach up with her tiny, paint-stained hands, grabbing Victoria Euro's long, elegant fingers. "Your hands are cold, pretty lady," Lily murmured, rubbing her warm cheek against Victoria's palm. "I can warm them up. My mommy says my hands are like little heaters." Victoria gasped. It was a sharp, ragged intake of air that rattled her entire chest. She knew those eyes. She had seen them in her own mirror every day of her life, and she had seen them in her dreams every night for 5 long years. But it wasn't just the physical resemblance. A sudden, overwhelming burst of scent exploded from the Childa Euro, a soft, emerging fragrance of sweet milk, warm honey, and a distinct, unmistakable undertone of frosted pine. It was an Alpha pup's scent. Her pup's scent. "Who?" Victoria Euro's voice was barely a whisper, trembling with an emotion none of her executives had ever heard. "Who does this child belong to?" Evelyn couldn't stay hidden any longer. The primal, protective instinct of an Omega mother overrode her terror. She threw her mop aside, the wooden handle clattering loudly against the stone floor, and ran out from behind the pillar. "Lily, Lily, sweetie, come here," Evelyn cried, her voice cracking with desperation. She fell to her knees a few feet away, her hands shaking as she reached out for her daughter. Her cheap scent blockers, utterly compromised by her sheer panic, completely gave way. A powerful, intoxicating wave of sweet, pure jasmine and rich, warm vanilla flooded the cold corridor, clashing violently with Victoria's icy scent. Victoria Euro's head snapped up. Her silver blue eyes locked onto Evelyn. The cold, calculating business mogul vanished, replaced instantly by a primal, dominant alpha who had just found her lost, precious mate. "Evelyn," Victoria breathed. The name left her lips like a sacred vow, a heavy, reverent whisper that seemed to carry the weight of 5 years of searching. Evelyn froze, her hands hovering in the air. She looked up, her tear-filled eyes meeting Victoria Euro's intense, burning gaze. "Ms. Miss Vance. I'm sorry. Please, she didn't mean to. It was an accident. I LL leave. We'll leave right now, I'll resign Euro. Just please don't take her. Please don't hurt Hera Euro." "Resign?" Victoria Euro's voice suddenly darkened, the rich, possessive bass of her alpha tone vibrating through the air. She looked at her executives, who were staring at the scene in absolute, jaw-dropping shock. Victoria Euro's face instantly returned to its cold, terrifying mask, but her eyes remained fixed on Evelyn. "Everyone out," Victoria commanded. "Miss Vance?" Marcus stammered. The contract signing Euro." "I said, get out," Victoria snarled, her scent flaring with a dangerous, territorial heat that made the beta executives practically trip over themselves to reach the elevator. "Clear the entire floor. Shut down the executive elevators. No one enters this level without my direct authorization. If I see a single soul on this floor in the next 10 minutes, you are all terminated." Within 30 seconds, the lobby was entirely empty. The heavy chrome doors of the elevator closed, leaving only the soft hum of the rain, Victoria, Evelyn, and Lily. Evelyn was trembling so violently she could barely keep herself upright. She pulled Lily into her arms, clutching her daughter to her chest as if she could shield her from the formidable alpha standing before them. "Mommy, you're shaking," Lily said, her little brow furrowing with worry. She reached up to pat Evelina Euro's wet cheek. "Don't be sad. The pretty lady is nice. She smells like home." Victoria took a slow, deliberate step forward. Evelyn flinched, pulling Lily closer. "Please, Victoria," she begged, reverting to the name she had whispered in the dark 5 years ago. "Please. I'll do anything. I'll sign any waiver. I'll leave the city. Just don't take her from me. She Euro's my whole world." Victoria stopped. The pain that flickered across the Alpha Euro's face was raw, cutting deep into her cold facade. She slowly sank to one knee, bringing herself down to Evelyn's level. The scent of frosted pine softened, wrapping around Evelyn and Lily like a warm, protective winter coat, gently soothing Evelina Euro's frantic, terrified jasmine scent. "Do you really think so poorly of me, Evelyn?" Victoria whispered, her voice surprisingly soft, almost pleading. "Do you think I would steal your child?" She's your child too," Evelyn whispered, lowering her head, unable to meet Victoria Euro's intense gaze. "I saw her eyes. I knew the moment she was born. But you are Victoria Vance. You have a legacy, a reputation. I was just an unregistered Omega who got caught in your heat. I didn't want Lily to be a secret or a mistake or a political tool for your family." "A mistake." Victoria reached out, her long, pale fingers gently taking Evelina Euro's chin and tilting her face upward. Her touch was surprisingly gentle, devoid of the harshness she showed the rest of the world. "5 years ago, you vanished," Victoria said, her silver blue eyes burning with a deep, consuming intensity. "I woke up in that cabin and you were gone. I searched every sector of the city. I hired private investigators. I spent millions trying to find the sweet, brave Omega who saved me from my own destructive heat. Do you have any idea what it felt like to believe I had terrified you so badly that you ran into a blizzard just to get away from me?" Evelina Euro's breath hitched. You searched for me? I never stopped searching, Victoria murmured, her thumb gently tracing Evelina Euro's lower lip. And now, I find you sweeping my floors, carrying my daughter, living in the shadows while I sat in my empty, golden tower. Victoria Euro's gaze drifted down to Lily, who was watching the two of them with wide, curious eyes. The Alpha Euro's expression softened into something incredibly tender, a look that would have shocked anyone who knew the Ice Queen. She is beautiful, Victoria whispered, a soft, prideful smile tugging at the corners of her lips. She has my eyes, but she has your sweet face, Evelyn. Lily grinned, leaning out of Evelyn's embrace to pat Victoria's shoulder. I have your eyes. Mommy said they're like pretty stars. Victoria Euro's heart melted completely. She gently took Lily's tiny hand, kissing the knuckles. They're your stars now, little one. Then, Victoria stood up. The soft, gentle, motherly Alpha vanished, replaced once more by the possessive, commanding CEO. But this time, that power was directed entirely toward protecting what was hers. Get up, Evelyn, Victoria said, her voice firm but gentle. Evelyn stood up, holding Lily tightly. Are you calling the police? Or security? I am taking my family home, Victoria declared, her tone leaving absolutely no room for argument. What? No, Victoria, I have to finish my shift, and our apartment Euro. Your shift is over permanently, Victoria interrupted, reaching out to take Evelina Euro's cleaning cart and pushing it aside. And your apartment is no longer your home. From this moment on, you and Lily are under my direct care. You will not leave my sight. Victoria, you can't just keep us here. Evelyn protested, though her inner Omega was practically purring at the commanding, protective tone of her Alpha. I can and I will, Victoria said, a dangerous, possessive spark in her silver blue eyes. She stepped closer, her scent flaring with a warm, dominant demand. I let you slide through my fingers once, Evelyn. I spent 5 years in a cold, empty hell. I will not lose you again. Not for a single second. She reached out and effortlessly took Lily from Evelyn's arms. Lily giggled, wrapping her arms around Victoria Euro's neck. Come, Victoria said, grabbing Evelina Euro's hand and locking her fingers tightly with hers. We are going to my private penthouse. And tomorrow, the world will know that the Vance family is no longer empty. The private penthouse of Victoria Vance occupied the entire 70-floor summit of the tower. It was a masterpiece of minimalist luxuria Euro, polished white marble, floor-to-ceiling glass walls overlooking the glittering city, and modern art. But to Evelyn, it looked like a beautiful, sterile fortress. Until Victoria walked in. The moment the elevator doors opened into the penthouse, Victoria immediately carried Lily over to a massive, plush white sofa. She gently set the little girl down and unbuttoned her damp raincoat, tossing the cheap yellow plastic onto a multi-million-dollar glass coffee table without a second thought. Sarah, Victoria called out. Within moments, a middle-aged beta woman in a neat uniform appeared, her eyes widening slightly as she saw the disheveled Omega and the energetic child on the pristine sofa. Yes, Ms. Vance. I need a hot bath prepared in the master suite immediately, Victoria ordered, her tone brisk. Bring the softest towels we have. And call my personal chef. I want a child-friendly, nutritious meal prepared and brought up within 30 minutes. Also, contact our high-end retail partners. I want complete wardrobes for an Omega and a 4-year-old female alpha pup delivered by tomorrow morning at 7. Sarah blinked, utterly stunned by the words Omega and alpha pup. But years of working for the Ice Queen had trained her well. Right away, Ms. Vance. Evelyn stood near the elevator, feeling entirely out of place in her worn-out jeans and faded work shirt. Her scent blockers had completely washed out, and the penthouse was rapidly filling with the sweet, intoxicating scent of jasmine and warm vanilla, mingling with Victoria's cool, rich pine. Victoria turned her attention back to Evelyn. She walked over, her steps slow and hypnotic. You look exhausted, Victoria murmured, her eyes softening as she took in the dark circles under Evelyn's eyes. How long have you been working double shifts? Since Lily was born, Evelyn admitted softly, looking down at her worn sneakers. Her medical bills. She was born early. She needed an incubator. The private clinics are expensive for unregistered omegas. A dark, dangerous shadow crossed Victoria's face. Her jaw clenched, a low, rumbling growl vibrating in her chest. If I had known, if you had just stayed, she would have had the best care in the world. You would never have had to work a single day, Evelyn. I was scared. Evelyn cried, her tears finally spilling over. You were the heir to the Vance Empire. Your father was still alive then, and everyone knew he hated Omegas. He would have forced you to reject me, or he would have taken Lily away to raise her as a heartless corporate weapon. I couldn't risk it. Victoria Euro's expression softened, the anger fading from her eyes, replaced by deep, aching regret. She reached out, pulling Evelyn into her arms. Evelyn gasped, her face burying into Victoria Euro's neck. The scent of frosted pine washed over her, instantly soothing the raw, frayed edges of her soul. Her hands, which had been tense for 5 years, slowly relaxed, clutching the back of Victoria's expensive suit jacket. My father is gone, Evelyn, Victoria whispered against her hair, her arms tightening around her waist, holding her as if she were a precious treasure. I run this empire now. No one can dictate who I love, who I mate, or who I protect. You are safe. I swear it on my life. On the sofa, Lily watched them, her little silver blue eyes wide with wonder. She clapped her hands happily. Look, Mommy. The pretty lady is giving you a big hug. Evelyn laughed through her tears, leaning back to look at Victoria. She really does have your eyes. She has your heart, Victoria replied softly. Evelyn woke the next morning to the smell of freshly brewed coffee, warm pastries, and the soft, unfamiliar sound of childish laughter. She opened her eyes slowly, realizing she was lying in an impossibly large bed with sheets made of Egyptian silk. The guest room was bathed in the soft, golden light of dawn, the storm from the night before having cleared to reveal a crisp, beautiful morning. On the nightstand beside her sat a neat stack of clothes, a stunning, cream-colored knitted sweater and a flowing, elegant skirt that felt incredibly soft to the touch. Beside them was a small card written in elegant, sharp cursive, *wear these. They are yours, *. Evelyn dressed quickly, her heart fluttering. When she stepped out of the guest room and walked down the long, marble-lined hallway, she froze at the sight in the living area. Victoria Vance, the terrifying, ruthless CEO of Vance Enterprises, was sitting on the polished floor. Her expensive suit jacket was gone, her white silk shirt unbuttoned at the collar and her sleeves rolled up to her elbows. She was holding a plastic toy teacup, pretending to drink from it while Lily, wearing a brand new, adorable pink dress, poured imaginary tea from a toy kettle. More tea, Mama? Lily asked, her little face beaming with joy. Yes, please, Victoria replied, her voice filled with a warmth that Evelyn had never heard before. But only if you have those chocolate croissants our chef made. Coming right up. Lily chirped, scrambling over to a silver platter on the dining table. Evelyn stood in the doorway, a soft, tearful smile spreading across her face. The Ice Queen had been completely, utterly melted by a 4-year-old. Victoria looked up, her silver blue eyes locking onto Evelyn. Her expression instantly softened even further, a look of intense, raw devotion crossing her features as she took in Evelyn Euro's appearance in the cream-colored sweater. You look beautiful, Victoria murmured, standing up from the floor and walking over to her. She reached out, her hands resting gently on Evelyn Euro's waist. Victoria, you really didn't have to buy all of this, Evelyn whispered, gesturing to the clothes and the mountain of toys in the corner. I have 5 years of missed birthdays and anniversaries to make up for, Victoria replied, her voice low and husky. She leaned down, her lips brushing against Evelyn Euro's forehead in a tender, lingering kiss. And I intend to spoil both of you for the rest of your lives. Mommy, Lily squealed, running over and wrapping her arms around Evelyn Euro's leg. Mama played the tea game with me, and she promised we can go to the big park today. Evelyn looked at Victoria, her eyes questioning. The park? Victoria, don't you have a corporate merger to finalize today? Victoria smiled, a cold, dangerous glint appearing in her eyes for a brief second. I have already rescheduled the meeting. Let the board wait. Today, my only priority is my family. The park was a private, secured estate owned by the Vance family, surrounded by towering iron gates and weeping willow trees. For the first time in her life, Lily was able to run freely, chasing butterflies and rolling in the soft, green grass without Evelyn constantly looking over her shoulder for security or wardens. Victoria walked beside Evelyn, their fingers locked tightly together. The Alpha Euro S scent of frosted pine was strong and proud, wrapping around Evelina Euro S sweet jasmine, sent in a clear, public display of claiming. But their peaceful afternoon was suddenly interrupted. The iron gates of the estate creaked open, and a sharp, arrogant scent of burnt ash and cheap lavender flooded the clean air. Evelyn flinched, her instincts instantly screaming danger. She ran forward, pulling Lily back into her arms. Walking down the paved path was a tall, middle-aged female alpha wearing an overly dramatic, expensive fur coat and a sneer on her face. It was Catherine Vance, Victoria Euro S and a senior board member who had been desperately trying to usurp Victoria's position for years. Well, Victoria, Catherine drawled, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. I heard a rumor that you canceled our most important board meeting of the quarter. I didn't believe it until I saw this pathetic display myself. Catharina Euro S sneering gaze drifted down to Evelina Euro S worn sneakers, then to Lilia Euro S silver blue eyes. Her face twisted in disgust. An unregistered, penniless Omega? And a bastard child? Catherine laughed, a harsh, grating sound. Have you completely lost your mind, Victoria? The board will have you removed for this. A Vance Alpha does not breed with the help. Evelyn shrunk back, her heart pounding with a sudden, suffocating fear. The old, deeply ingrained terrors of her unregistered status clawed at her throat. But before she could speak, Victoria stepped in front of them. The air in the park suddenly grew heavy, suffocatingly dense. Victoria Euro S posture shifted, her shoulders squaring, her eyes turning a cold, glowing silver. A massive, terrifying wave of pure, unbridled alpha aura exploded from her, slamming into Catherine like a physical wall of ice. Catherine choked, her smirk instantly vanishing as she was forced to take a step back, her chest heaving as she struggled to breathe under Victoria Euro S sheer power. Choose your next words very carefully, Catherine, Victoria snarled, her voice a low, terrifying vibration that made the leaves on the willow tree shake. You are speaking about my mate. And my daughter. A mate? Catherine stammered, her face turning pale under the intense pressure of Victoria's aura. She has no mark. She is unregistered Euro. She is my true mate, Victoria interrupted, taking a slow, menacing step forward. And the moment I mark her, she will own 50% of this empire. As for Lily, she is the sole heir to the Vance lineage. If you ever speak of them in that tone again Euro, if you even look in their direction Euro, I will strip you of your shares, seize your assets, and banish you from this city. Do you understand me? Catherine stared at her niece in absolute, paralyzed terror. She had never seen Victoria this protective, this feral. The Ice Queen was no longer cold, she was burning with a destructive, protective fire. I understand, Catherine whispered, bowing her head in submission before turning and scurrying back to her limousine like a scolded dog. Victoria watched her leave, her chest heaving slightly as she slowly reined in her terrifying aura. The moment Catharina Euro S scent vanished from the park, Victoria turned around. The terrifying, feral alpha vanished instantly. Her face was filled with pure, anxious concern as she knelt down beside Evelyn and Lily. Are you hurt? Victoria asked, her hands shaking slightly as she checked Evelina Euro S face and arms. Did she scare you? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let her get that close. Evelyn stared at Victoria, her eyes filled with a deep, profound realization. This powerful, terrifying woman who could make the City Euro S elite tremble with a single look was completely at her mercy. I'm not scared, Victoria, Evelyn whispered, reaching out to cup Victoria's cheek. Not when I'm with you. Victoria closed her eyes, leaning into Evelyn's touch with a soft, content sigh. I will always protect you, Evelyn. Always. The news of Victoria Vance's sudden secret family hit the media like a Category 5 hurricane. By the next morning, every major newspaper, blog, and television station was flashing pictures of the mysterious, beautiful Omega and the adorable child with the signature Vance eyes. Asterisk, the Ice Queen's secret Omega. Asterisk. Asterisk, who is Evelyn Miller? The Cinderella of Vance Enterprises. Asterisk. Asterisk, the next heir to the billion-dollar empire has Vance eyes. Asterisk. Inside the penthouse, Evelyn watched the news on the giant screen, her stomach twisting into knots. Victoria, the whole city is talking. The paparazzi are outside the building. Victoria, who was calmly sipping her coffee while helping Lily assemble a giant wooden castle, didn't even look up. Let them talk, Victoria said smoothly. The media belongs to me. By noon, the narrative will be completely under my control. But the board Euro. The board has already approved the official announcement, Victoria interrupted, standing up and walking over to Evelyn. She wrapped her arms around Evelyn Euro's waist, her chin resting on her shoulder. They know that if they object, I will pull my funding and let the company collapse. They value their money more than their outdated traditions. She kissed the side of Evelyn's neck, right where the soft, unmarked skin of her mating gland lay. Evelyn, Victoria murmured, her voice turning deep and serious. I want to mark you. Not just to show the world that you are mine, but because my soul has been empty without you for 5 years. I want to feel your scent inside mine. I want you to be my wife. Evelyn Euro's heart swelled, her eyes filling with tears of pure, overwhelming happiness. Yes, Victoria. Yes, I want to be yours. The ceremony was private, held in the beautiful, glass-walled conservatory at the top of the Vance Tower, surrounded by hundreds of blooming white jasmine flowers that Victoria had personally ordered to match Evelyn Euro's scent. Only a few select, trusted friends and the city's official registrar were present. Lily sat in the front row, wearing a tiny white dress, clutching a plush toy wolf that Victoria had bought her, her silver blue eyes wide with excitement. Victoria stood before Evelyn, wearing a stunning, tailored white suit that contrasted beautifully with Evelyn Euro's elegant, flowing lavender gown. Evelyn, Victoria said, her voice rich with emotion as she held Evelyn's hands. 5 years ago, I was a cold, unfeeling machine, living only for the legacy of my family. You saved me. You gave me warmth, you gave me a daughter, and you gave me a reason to live. I swear to protect you, to honor you, and to cherish you for the rest of my days. Evelyn smiled through her tears. Victoria, I was so scared of the world, but you showed me that there is nothing to fear. You are my home, my protector, and my love. I am yours always. The registrar stepped forward, officiating the bond. Victoria leaned down, her fingers gently moving Evelyn Euro's soft hair away from her neck, exposing the sensitive mating gland. Her eyes glowed a beautiful, deep silver as her alpha instincts took over. Gently, with an incredible tenderness, Victoria sank her fangs into Evelyn Euro's neck, sealing their bond. A sudden, electrifying wave of energy crashed through Evelyn Euro's body. The bond was forged. Instantly, their scents fused Euro, the sweet, pure jasmine of the Omega and the cool, frosted pine of the Alpha swirling together into a perfect, harmonious fragrance that filled the entire conservatory. Evelyn let out a soft, breathless gasp, her body relaxing completely against Victoria Euro's chest as the Alpha Euro's protective mark settled into her soul. Mine, Victoria whispered against her skin, her voice thick with raw, possessive love. Yours, Evelyn replied, wrapping her arms tightly around Victoria's neck. 3 months later, the grand ballroom of the capital city plaza was filled with the wealthiest, most powerful figures in the country. The annual Vance Charity Gala was the most prestigious event of the year, and tonight, it was the official public debut of the Vance family. The heavy oak doors of the ballroom swung open. Presenting the CEO of Vance Enterprises, Ms. Victoria Vance, her mate, Lady Evelyn Vance, and the heiress, Miss Lily Vance. The entire crowd of over 1,000 elites fell into a stunned, silent awe. Victoria walked in, looking impossibly regal in a tailored black tuxedo. Beside her, holding her hand with a serene, confident grace, was Evelyn. She wore a stunning, diamond-encrusted emerald gown, her neck proudly displaying the elegant, healing mark of the Vance Alpha. And walking between them, holding both of their hands, was Lily, wearing a matching green velvet dress, her silver blue eyes sparkling under the crystal chandeliers. As they walked down the grand staircase, the crowd parted like the Red Sea, bowing their heads in deep, instinctual respect. The scent of frosted pine and sweet jasmine swirled around them, a powerful, unified aura that asserted their absolute dominance over the city. Catherine Vance stood in the corner, clutching her champagne glass with shaking hands, not daring to make eye contact as the happy family passed by. Victoria stopped at the center of the ballroom, looking down at her beautiful mate and her precious daughter. "Are you happy, my love?" Victoria whispered, her eyes filled with an infinite, tender warmth meant only for Evelyn. Evelyn looked up at the towering glass windows, then at the crowded room, and finally at the gorgeous Alpha who had captured her heart. She leaned in, pressing a soft, sweet kiss to Victoria Euro's lips. "I have never been happier," Evelyn whispered. Lily giggled, tugging on Victoria's trousers. "Mama, look, there's chocolate cake over there. Can we have some?" Victoria laughed, a rich, happy sound that echoed through the ballroom, shocking the nearby executives who had never heard the Ice Queen laugh. She effortlessly scooped Lily up in one arm, while her other arm wrapped securely around Evelyn Euro's waist, pulling her close. "Yes, my sweet pup," Victoria smiled, kissing Lily's cheek. "Tonight, you can have all the cake you want. Because the world is yours." And as they walked toward the dessert table together, the rain outside the grand windows finally stopped, giving way to a beautiful, star-filled night sky a sky that reflected the bright, shining silver blue stars in Lily's eyes and the unbreakable, everlasting bond of the family that had finally found their way home.